Lovely. Hi, everyone. This is Precisely Nowhere. If you're new to listening, I'm spending September focusing on growth, different aspects of it, and different ways that I have been growing currently this past year, and just sharing some tips and reflections and lessons that I've learned as I'm growing that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. And I hope that me sharing my thoughts inspires anyone who's listening to either reflect and find ways to grow themselves, or just honestly is a new perspective for you to maybe think about, and if it's something that you resonate with, maybe put to practice, like there's so many people out there that have been sharing their journeys for creating their ideal life. And there's so much free knowledge out there and experiences that people have. And I mean, it's an amazing day and age. So you can not even leave your apartment or, have to really get outside to learn so many things. So I am just paying it forward in that aspect. And this episode is all about growth and culture. And for me, I just recently moved back to California after living in New York for 12 years. I had gone to college in New York and ended up loving it there. So I, had my career there, and I still am in the same career, but, really built my network there, and my best friends were there. And as I enter, I guess, a new phase in my life where I'm trying to really settle down and think long term, I decided to move back home to California. It's been something I was thinking about for a few years now. And it so happened that my lease was going to be up. I had been living in a one-bedroom apartment by myself, which was also an amazing experience. And I highly recommend everyone experience living on their own at least once. I feel like you really figure out who you are, and even just like how you like to live when you get to live on your own. You don't have to worry about somebody else. And even if you like have a good roommate, one of my good friends, she's one of my best friends. I met her because we lived together and we didn't even know each other when we signed a lease. And then I ended up living with her for 6 years. So she's the person that I've lived with the longest outside of my family. And we were just very compatible as roommates. So she was a great roommate. I've had other really great roommates and great friends that I've lived with as well. But I've definitely learned a lot living on my own, which made it, I think, even easier, I guess, when I finally moved in with my boyfriend. Because I really knew like kind of what I needed from just like a home, and also the environment that I wanted to be in, and was intentional about communicating that when I was getting to the point of, discussing moving in with my boyfriend. And it was definitely something that I was hesitant about because I have never lived with a boyfriend before. But, so far it's been really great. And my boyfriend also had lived alone for more years than I did. I only lived alone for 2 years. But so it's interesting, like meshing our lives together, since we both had like our own routines and ways that we like doing things. But we've both been I think we've been really good at communicating and being flexible with being open to either adapting our routines, because, now we live together and it's not just us and alone doing things how we like to do them. So things have been going great in that aspect. And, because my boyfriend is also, we both are Mexican. And I really honestly hadn't dated someone that was, that had the same, like a similar upbringing and culture that, as me, since high school, really. Not intentionally, but, well, sometimes a little intentionally, because I just have experience and grew up, in a time where a lot of the traditional men from my culture wanted a very traditional woman. Not everyone, but I am not someone that is, I really don't, I literally cook for survival. don't like to cook. I can clean and I can cook for myself, but cooking doesn't really like bring me joy like it does like my boyfriend, for instance. So I didn't grow up traditionally, and that has been something that I just had seen growing up that someone in my culture kind of expected. So I kept an open mind to that, but hadn't really come across someone that had the same values and also approached life from taking, really still being ingrained in their culture, but not in a traditional aspect. So I love my boyfriend for that. Definitely balance each other out. And he has helped me connect with my culture more just because he had lived in Illinois. He's from Illinois most of his life until he moved to California with me. And so he's been around his family significantly more than I have because I moved away from home when I was 17. And although I came for like holidays and summers sometimes, when I started working, I only came during the holidays, and that's not a long time to be at home. And obviously, I still, indulged in Mexican food and had my own things culturally that I kept up. But I think that when you're um, in an environment where like culturally there's a lot of people that are similar, you can grow in different ways than when you're separated from that. So it's been something that I have been reflecting on recently. And as it's also Hispanic Heritage Month, wanted to take time to talk about the journey of living your truth and also keeping your culture, but being open to like growing and also taking your culture and traditions maybe from your culture, but really expanding on them and not just repeating what you know or what the norm is. It's definitely something that has been easier for me to do, maybe because I've been so far away from home. And I also didn't grow up very traditionally. So my parents inspired me to, love and embrace my culture, but not follow maybe the traditions that can be associated with, Hispanic traditional culture. So I've always appreciated that. And I am trying to speak Spanish more. I feel like I'm very in tune with my culture, but my Spanish is very rusty, and it's something that I've felt self-conscious about in the past because I grew up primarily speaking English with my parents, but they spoke Spanish a lot, especially because they spoke it in their professions and always spoke it around me to the family members. So I always understood it very well. I just didn't speak it as frequently. So growing up, I did take, Spanish in high school, and I took it all 4 years. I took AP Spanish. I when I studied abroad in college. Spent a semester in Spain, and I took all of my classes in Spanish except for one. I lived with a senora. I basically spoke Spanish all day, every day for 3 months, which was amazing. I was fluent. At that point, I had been fluent, but then I came back to New York and I defaulted back to English, and I still can speak Spanish, but it is on the rustier end at times, and I think I'm more in my head about it and more critical of myself than like other people definitely are. But it's just something that I am working on as I not just because I'm back home, but it's just something that I want to make sure I can teach my kids and carry that culture honestly to the next generation. And that's super important for me because I think that there's so many beautiful things about my culture, and I want my kids to get to experience those same things. So, and I'm working on my Spanish. I'm going to Mexico with Marco to visit his family in the new year. So that will definitely be a test for me. Most of my family is in California, so we don't really go to Mexico. I haven't been to Mexico since I was like a baby, which is ironic because I've been to so many other countries. So I'm excited to get to be in touch with my culture more and grow in that aspect. I think it's going to make me a more well-rounded person personally based on the like ideal person that I want to be. So that is something that I'm working on this fall. And my best friend actually gave me a really good idea that I need to put to practice um, because she knows that I want to practice my Spanish. And it was speaking Spanish during, like, maybe it's after work or during dinner. Me and because my boyfriend speaks Spanish and he actually speaks it during the day for his work. So he gets to practice it, which I'm envious of. But it's something that, yeah, so we are going to try out speaking Spanish to each other at specific moments of the day, so either like lunch or dinners, just to start out getting comfortable doing it because we also speak English to each other. So I think it's just our default. That's what's easy, and speaking Spanish when it's rusty can just feel a little intimidating sometimes, even though we know we're like we know the language. So I'm not sure if anyone else can relate, but I'm trying to make effort to stay in touch with my culture because that is important to me. And I also know it's important to Marco and it's something that we talk about. So I am actually putting to practice what I am preaching, I guess. So I come from a family with lots of opinionated, strong female, Hispanic, Latina, spicy women, and love it. Lots of spice in the family, and it is the reason why I am the way that I am, and I love the way that I am. So, and I'm so thankful to have so many strong women in my life that know their worth and are themselves and aren't afraid to have a voice. So, shout out to my family. And I mean, I guess I am the youngest. I have one cousin that's younger than me, but from the family that I see most frequently, I am the youngest. So, I do look up to a lot of my family members and look for them for advice and also, just admire each of their journeys. I feel like the women in my family, they've come so far and they've faced adversity, but they've always come out of it stronger and know their worth and are so opinionated. And, sometimes it's a lot, but it's always with my best interest in mind and each other's best interest in mind. And I think that's why we're so close. So shout out to you and shout out to, being a Latina. And I mean, we just have such a beautiful culture. So I am so proud to be Mexican and 100% Mexican. And even if I don't speak Spanish all the time, I love my culture and shouldn't feel shame also. I feel like that's a little bit of a stigma, people are Hispanic, but if you don't speak Spanish, you're not as Mexican or you're not as, whatever your ethnicity or your culture ethnicity is. So I am trying to just embrace that I love my culture and that's that. And I don't have to speak Spanish perfectly to be validated for being a good Mexican because it could feel that way sometimes. There's been lots of birthdays of late in my family. Well, mine, Marco's, my aunt's just passed. So happy belated to you because I know you're a listener and one of my top listeners. So this is a belated birthday shout out, even though I told you happy birthday on your actual birthday. I love you so much and I look up to you. I've learned so much from you and you are like a second mom to me. I mean, you've impacted my life in so many ways and you continue to, and I really value you. And you're such a strong person, a fellow Virgo. I mean, you've had such an adventurous life. I admire that and hope to have the same. And it's so wonderful to see you so happy in I mean, I feel like you have a life partner that loves you. And shout out to my cousin who is an awesome kid. I'm trying to be respectful of not saying people's names because, I respect my family's privacy. So that is why I am using some formal terms instead of shouting out names. But I love you so much. And shout out to my mom, whose birthday is next week. I am so excited that I get to celebrate with you in person, and we will be celebrating whether you like it or not. So sometimes you listen to these episodes late, and I hope you get a laugh out of this if you are listening, whenever you are listening to this. And thank you for, teaching me so much and always encouraging me to grow. I don't know if I'd say I would be as resilient as I am if I didn't have such a strong female role model in my life who has overcome so much and accomplished so much and done it with grace and has just been so strong along the way. I am so hardworking and I know I get a lot of it from you and my dad. Shout out to my dad, whose birthday was also recently. You get some shout outs, but back to my mom. Thank you for teaching me hard work and being someone that I can look up to and admire as a woman who is so strong and sassy and a boss and loving all around, a genuinely amazing person who loves so deep and is always there for everyone whenever they need it. And you don't expect a thank you. And I know you don't get them that often, but I love you so much. Thank you for also showing me how to take care of my things because sometimes I'm having to tell Marco he needs to learn how to take care of his things. Not to throw shade, but I guess it's throwing shade. But thank you for showing me how to take care of my things and that having quality things can be better than having a lot of quantity of things. I definitely learned that from you. And I love you so much. And that is this episode. It is a short and sweet one. I will definitely be sharing more about my culture as I continue to grow and updates on my speaking Spanish. I think that along with uplifting other women, entrepreneurs, and creatives, that I really want to uplift other Latinas and connect with them. We are a minority, and there are a lot of shared experiences and obstacles and struggles, and also great things to relate and share with each other. I can't wait to connect with more Latina creators and talk about our shared experiences, share tips and learnings, and get more in touch with my culture and celebrate my culture and the amazing people that are, have had different experiences but always overcame them and are just spreading good vibes out there and want the best for other people. I love that. And I love how resilient we are as Latinas. So, on that note, this is the end of the episode. I hope you take something away from it and continue to grow in your own ways, whether that's exploring your own culture or new cultures. I mean, I love to travel and I love to experience and explore new cultures. It's something that I just love getting uh, firsthand, like deep dive experience into other ways that people are living and so many cultures out there, from the food to the art, to the architecture to the culture. It's just a beautiful culture is a beautiful thing. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to be back next week. Until then, talk soon. Bye.
Music and editing done by Marco. You can find him at midnight, MIDNITE_mind80 on Instagram for more of his work.